All right, everybody, welcome to episode 26 of the Sports and Nothing Else podcast special edition. Kyle, tell everybody where you are.
We are in Manson, Iowa. Cradle of Civilization.
Yeah, Cradle of Civilization. Basically,
it's
like the
thrill a minute.
Yeah. Might as well have the Tigris and Euphrates rivers running right through it. And next to you, would you like to introduce our second-time guest?
This is Steve. This is our dad.
This is our dad, our number one fan.
With, historical sports knowledge.
Yeah. Yes. And yes, a good athlete in his own right. But a few years before Kyle and I were good athletes, we'll say that.
I would have to argue that he was considerably better than me at basketball today when we beat the youth at the rec.
He has always been better than you at basketball. Let's be clear about that.
And you too.
Yeah. Well, you're probably right about that. Hard to argue these things. So anyhow, we're glad that he's here. Everybody in our family is in Iowa except us. We are just doing the stomach bug. Every girl in our family has a stomach bug right now. So we're having a good time down here in Florida. But it is 70 degrees right now. So there's that. All right. We have a little different of, whatever. I don't want to hear about it. We have a little different of a podcast tonight because whenever we have Dad on, we like to talk about things from the past. And so we're going to do that. But we're going to start with the college football playoff because I know a lot of the people that listen to this podcast have a rooting interest in that playoff. Kyle, if you had your way, who wins the playoff?
This is going to make me throw up to say it, but I think Michigan.
What?
I hate Alabama and Georgia.
So why not Cincinnati? Why don't we go full Cinderella?
Because
Michigan.
That's my analysis. I'm rooting for the Big 10.
Yeah, you watch a lot
30, whatever it is.
Yeah, it is about to be the Big 30. Dad, what about you? Do you even know the 4 teams that are in?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You just said them all.
Yeah.
That's true.
I mean, I disdain Michigan, but
good
because they're from the Big 10, and because they pummeled my Hawkeyes, it would look better for Iowa if Michigan would win. But I don't know. I mean, if I was picking who I actually think is going to win, I think Alabama's going to win it. They're just really good.
Yeah.
So,
Kyle and I mentioned last week on the podcast how big Georgia was as a favorite to win the national championship, more than 2.5 to 1, or I mean, you'd have to lay $250 to win $100. It would have been Alabama was plus 800, and that would have been a good bet because it's not anywhere near that anymore. But there has been some debate about Michigan not being number one. And so I want to lay out the case here because we have a lot of Michigan fans that listen to this podcast, which is dreadful, but we love you all anyways. Here's the truth. I think it's really close as to who should be number 2 and number 1. But if you look at best win and loss, because they both have one loss, Alabama's best win is better than Michigan's best win. Sorry. They pummeled Georgia, the clear number 1 team, on a neutral site. And Michigan beat Ohio State at home and convincingly. And then Michigan's loss to Michigan State at the time looked great. And then Michigan State fell apart completely. Ohio State beat Michigan State by 1 million. And Michigan lost to them, so that's not great. And Alabama's loss is Texas A&M, who's maybe comparable to Michigan State, but athlete-wise is significantly superior to Michigan State. So I would say they got it right. But if you're a Michigan fan, I understand why you want to be number 1, especially because your treat for being number 2 is to play Georgia, who is just 5-star athletes, their whole team. So any thoughts on that, any of you gentlemen?
Well, I would just throw in one other reason why I would root for Michigan, because I have a very good friend who's a big Michigan fan, and I would be very happy for him.
Oh, see, that's the reason I actually want Michigan to lose. I have a lot of really good friends that are Michigan
I know
fans, and
you do.
I want them to be miserable.
Shout out to my buddy George Hofsummer, who I know watches your podcast. So I'd be very happy for him if Michigan would win.
That is one of the few people I'd actually be happy for, too. Josh Van Epps, I know you're listening too. I love you dearly. I would not be happy for you if Michigan wins a national championship.
I mean, to me, the reason you have to put Alabama first, it's not just about this year. It's that they've been the dominant college football team for the last 6, 8, 10 years, and so it's just hard to pick against them. I mean, how many national championships have they won in the last 10 years? 4 or 5 at least.
Yeah, it's something like that. It's insane.
What has been the Big Ten's showing in the last 10 years in major?
It's a one Ohio State national championship when they improbably went through, and then they did throttle Clemson last year. So there is that. So do you want to guess what the spreads are in these games? See who's closest. I got them right here. We'll start with Georgia, Michigan. Who's favored and by how much? Kyle, go ahead.
Georgia by 3.5.
Okay, good guess, Dad.
I was going to say Georgia by 6.5.
Dad wins 7.5. Georgia 7.5. And by the way, I think that's too high. I think it's a defensive game, and I don't think Michigan is much worse than Georgia. I think it's a good game. I think I won't bet Michigan because I don't want to cheer for them, but I think that's a better bet. All right, Cincinnati and Alabama, as you know, is a higher spread. What do you think?
Alabama by 11.5.
Okay.
That's actually exactly what I was going to say, but I'll say 13.5 just to be different.
13.5 is the number. Alabama by 13.5.
I shouldn't have said I was going to say 11.5.
Yeah. And honestly, I think if I had to bet, I would bet Alabama at the 13.5. I think that's a bloodbath, and I hope it's not. I hope Cincinnati plays well. They have good players. They have a pro quarterback for sure, but Alabama has the best quarterback, and I don't know. I worry about that game getting out of hand early. If Cincinnati can keep it close, I think they probably can hang around. But early, that game could get away and then just be gone, I think. So, all right, that's our college football because neither of the people besides Dad watches Iowa, Kyle watches none. And that's our college football situation. So I work all day on Saturday, so I don't watch a lot either. I do usually fall asleep watching it on Saturday night. So that's my expert analysis. All right, Michigan fans, I wish you the worst of luck, but you know, there are a few of you I would be happy for your happiness only because I love you, not because I want Michigan to win. Like Jim Harbaugh, come on, I can't be happy for that guy. He's the worst. Anyhow, let's move on. So what I asked Kyle and Dad to do is come up with their 5-ish all-time favorite sports moments of their not moments that like Kyle and I have been personally involved in, or Dad has been personally involved in, but pro sports or college sports moments that really were like amazing to us. So let's I don't know that, did you guys order yours from 5 to 1 or anything? Mine are just kind of a big blob.
No.
So, and I don't know, we may have done this differently. So I did the moments that I was most happy with the outcome, or as a rooting fan with the teams that I care about, not so much what I think were like the most incredible sports.
No. Yeah, that's what I meant. To us, this is a personal thing.
Gotcha.
So
I kind of did mine just by sports categories. So I picked one from each major sport that I actually care about.
Oh, good for you.
Soccer.
All right. Why don't you, Kyle, why don't you give us one from something and Dad can go next.
Okay. So, and this was like my first sports fandom memory. This was the 1997 Arizona College Basketball National Championship. This is why I'm an Arizona fan, and not because I picked them in the Final Four, but because this was my pick to win the tournament in my first bracket that I ever filled out. This team had Michael Dickerson, Mike Bibby, Miles Simon, Jason Terry, AJ Bramlett. Love me some Lute Olson, who Dad personally knows, and it's going to be in the will. But beat a Kentucky team that was really good, so that was awesome.
Yeah. Looking back on it, with hindsight, you have to wonder how in the world that team was only a 4 seed. Like Lute Olson, maybe not his greatest regular season coaching job. There's like 4 legit pros on that team, and they didn't do a lot.
Had some good guys as well.
Oh no, for sure.
Derek Anderson, Naz Muhammad, Scott Padgett.
I'm not saying that Kentucky team wasn't good. They're the best team in the country all year. But the fact of the matter is that Arizona team had more good pros on it than probably any team in that tournament and was a 4. But think they were the first team ever to beat 3 number 1 seeds in a row on the way to win a national championship. It's very impressive.
And part of the reason too, I mean, Bibby was a freshman that year and really started playing at the end of the year. I mean, he had a lot of turnover problems early. But
yeah. So that was cool. They were awesome. Really were. And I was convinced Miles Simon was going to be an incredible pro. And I was
Dickerson. And
Dickerson hung around for a while at least.
A couple of years, yeah.
But Jason Terry really was the best out of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dad, go ahead and give us one.
Yeah, so for me, I actually, these were the most memorable for me. So this first one was actually a devastating loss. But I just remember it because I was with my dad. And I remember looking at my dad and saying, Dad, you're about to see something that hasn't happened in over 100 years. And then the Mets hit single after single. And then Calvin Schiraldi threw a wild pitch. And then, of course, Bill Buckner gets blamed for them losing the 86 World Series, which really wasn't his fault. But I just remember going from this moment of ready to celebrate my beloved Red Sox winning a World Series to them losing that game. And yeah, I can remember it like it was yesterday. So yeah, so I actually did the most memorable for different reasons. So yeah,
good news for you. About 2 months later, the greatest thing that's ever happened in your life happened. So, it wasn't all bad.
That is true. And one of my top 3 at least.
For those listening, that's when I was born. Not to toot my own horn too much. All right. Well, I will. You know what? I will go with a devastating one too. I have 3 grouped together because it's the 3 biggest memories of times Dad made me go to bed and I didn't get to see the end of something.
That's on my list too, Jeff.
So, the devastating one is the 97 World Series. I'm an Indians fan, and they got through the 9th inning. Jose Mesa blew the save. I was up for that, and then Dad made me go to bed because it was a school night, and it was late. And then I did not get to see Edgar Renteria drill a ball through the middle and the Marlins walk off the World Series. I was awake for them selling their team off immediately, which they did multiple times after winning World Series, but I missed that one, maybe for the best. I was also sent to bed because the game was over when Mariano Rivera came in against the Diamondbacks in Game 7 of the World Series. I was woken up just in time to see Luis Gonzalez bloop a ball over second base for a game-winning hit because the infield was in. And then I was also, this is my first sports memory, I was put to bed a few minutes before the Christian Laettner shot against Kentucky, and had to find out about that one the next morning also. But I was very young for that one. But I've always liked Duke, which does not sit well in this house because my wife is a big Kentucky fan.
It's funny, Jess, you didn't even bring up the one that I wrote down.
What's that one?
The 92 Braves Pirates.
Well, yeah, I'm real young there, but that's the Sid Bream one.
Yeah.
Which is an all-time wild play that Barry Bonds couldn't throw Sid Bream out from left field. So, all right, Kyle, we're back to you. Give us another one.
Yeah, so the theme for the rest of my list is sports disappointments that were still the farthest that my favorite teams have gotten. My teams all stink is basically the moral of this story. But 2002 Twins are my favorite Twins team of all time. They went 94 and 67. They were awesome. They lost to an Angels team in the ALCS, Rally Monkey team that went on to win the World Series.
K-Rod.
The ALCS was really not close. It was, I think, a 4-1 series or a 4-2 series. But this team was a lot of fun to watch. I don't really even remember that Angels series all that much. But this was the first year that I really spent a ton of time watching the Twins, or at least as much as I could with very minimal TV service. But it was like the Johan Santana, Joe Mays, Eric Milton, Doug Mankiewicz, Brzezinski Twins team that I got a lot of enjoyment from, and more probably just reading about them in the sports manuals that you would get before the season started than actually watching them. But yeah, that was my favorite Twins team of all time.
All right. There you go. And then eventually they just started losing to the Yankees every time they got to the playoffs.
Correct. So. Yeah, like 16 straight times in the playoffs now.
Yeah, it's not great. All right, Dad, what's your next one?
Okay, well, I'm going to skip the Braves Pirates since you talked a little bit about that one, and I'm going to go to one of the other ones I had as an honorable mention, which was Iowa beating Georgetown in the NCAA regional finals in 1979-80 season. And Iowa had a good team that year. And I was a freshman in college, and I was sitting in the lounge in our dormitory watching this game. Iowa was the underdog, and Georgetown was up 2 with just seconds left. And I was taking all kinds of ribbing from all of these guys sitting in this lounge because they knew I was an Iowa fan. And then the most unlikely team or player on Iowa's team, a guy named Steve Waite, catches a ball on the low block, turns and makes a shot and gets fouled with 2 seconds left. And actually, he was a bricklayer at the free throw line, made the free throw, and Iowa won to go to the Final Four. And then they lost to Darrell Griffith's Louisville Cardinals in the semifinals because their All-American point guard hurt his knee in the first half of the game. But for me, I still remember when that free throw went in, I just stood up in the lounge and threw my arms in the air and just, I made a pretty big scene after all the crap I had taken from all those guys in that lounge. So that was a very memorable moment for me.
There you go. And I'm going to give a similar story here. This is maybe my all-time favorite moment, and it parlays into the game that happened after it. But 2006, the Colts were the 5 seed in the playoffs and had yet to win a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning. Patriots were the 6th seed. It was kind of a weird situation that they hosted the AFC Championship game as the 5 seed because 2 wild cards made it to the AFC Championship. Probably had something to do with their quarterbacks. And again, I'm watching with all Michigan fans in the lobby of our dorm. And one of them, again, a big listener to this podcast, Josh Van Epps, we were watching, and he was giving it to me because the Patriots had owned the Colts to this point. I mean, it had always been in New England for playoff games, and it had been just a bloodbath. I mean, it just was never even close. And so first half is a disaster. Colts are down big, and they get a touchdown at the end of the half, and you could start to see some things change. So I bet, Josh, they had just come out with the BK Stacker at Burger King, which was, like a monster hamburger. So I bet him a BK Stacker that the Colts would come back and win, triple stacker. And it did not seem possible. And then Peyton Manning just went insane in the second half. And the Colts pulled it out improbably, finally beat Tom Brady. And it just, to give it to all the Michigan fans was really enjoyable because, they have no joy with the Lions. They had to become Tom Brady NFL fans too, which is nonsense. And it was great. It was just an outstanding day.
Coming from a guy that went from a Lions.
Oh yeah, don't talk to me about this right now. Just let me have my moment and go away. It was one of the best hamburgers I ever ate too.
He was a Barry Sanders fan though.
Yeah, that's true.
So
yes, and then Peyton Manning. I mean, if it's not for the Manning brothers, Tom Brady has like 13 Super Bowls. So thank goodness for them. All right, Kyle, what's your next one?
All right, so I've got 2 NBAs, and they're kind of a tie. The first is we're going to go from oldest to newest. Would be the 2004 Pistons beating the Lakers in the finals. I grew up a Pistons fan, and like you were a Lions fan because of Barry Sanders, I was a Pistons fan because of Grant Hill. So this was awesome for me. I was pumped. That team was super fun to watch. There were no superstars. I was a huge Rip Hamilton fan with the face mask. You have to like Chauncey Billups and Ben Wallace. So that was a memory for me, and I was never a big Kobe guy. So watching them
yeah, you listen to this podcast, we're not big Kobe guys. All right, what was the tie? Do you want to do the other one?
Second one, 2015 Warriors over the Cavs. I hate LeBron, and if you've listened to this podcast, I hate LeBron. Came back from down 2-1. This team was one of the best regular season teams you've ever seen in your entire life, and it was pre-Durant, which I appreciate. Not a huge Durant guy either. Iggy won the Finals MVP. That should have been Curry's MVP, I think, but that was an awesome series. So
and it was LeBron by himself against the Warriors. He had no Kevin Love, he had no Kyrie, and he almost won the series all by himself. It was unbelievable. So hate LeBron all you want, but it took all those Warriors to beat him in that first one.
Fair.
All right, which leads Dad to you got another one for us?
Absolutely. And my next one on the list was actually the Colts beating the Patriots and Bears to win the Super Bowl. So I'm going to skip that one. I'll put two together that involve clearly my favorite basketball player of all time. And it was the 84 Celtics coming back or beating the Lakers in the NBA Finals. And along with that, Bird stealing the ball from Isaiah Thomas against the Pistons. I don't even remember what year it was, but when the Pistons clearly had that game won, that was just awesome. So.
All right. I like it. I'm going to give my NBA ones. Kyle does not like LeBron, but I do. And so for me, my favorite all-time basketball player is Ray Allen. So one of the greatest memories is the Ray Allen shot in Game 6, which go to a basketball court and try to do all those things he did in the time he did it while receiving a pass and making a three-pointer with a 7-footer running at you. And here's what I'll tell you. You won't. It's not possible.
I tried it today with a 7th grader running at me, and I airballed.
Yeah. We tried to recreate it the next time we played pickup basketball because I used to play pickup basketball with a group of guys. And it's not the body control that's necessary just to even like get yourself set to shoot that shot is unreal. And then to realize how far you are from the basket and the stakes, of course, you add that to it. So, and if you go back and watch that whole quarter, LeBron is everywhere. They go into that quarter down like 12 points and he's like a man possessed the entire quarter. Like when I run up the stairs, I'm tired at this point. And for 12 minutes, it's just insanity. It's just incredible. So then they end up winning Game 7, which was a really good game that people forget that, it was kind of like the United States beating the Soviet Union, which would be on my list if I weren't -6 years old, probably. They had to go win the gold medal game after that. So, and then for me, the other one is the block, LeBron on the chase down against the Warriors. And then Kyrie hitting the 3 over Curry. It's not a good basketball game. If you go back and watch that game, no one really scores in the last 5 minutes of the game. But that whole series, watching LeBron and Kyrie go insane in games 5, 6, and 7 was really interesting. Now, listen, you can say what you want about those two guys since, especially Kyrie, which I don't even know what to say about that guy, but I don't think he knows what to say about that guy. That's really the problem. But they were like perfect basketball fit together. That's what's really too bad that they couldn't figure it out because you can't really find a better guy for LeBron to pair with than Kyrie. But it was incredible. And beating that Warriors team was one of the best teams I've ever seen in my life. Kyle, you have something to say, I can tell.
I'm just going to say you could make an argument that the pairing could happen again this year because Westbrook's a disaster next to LeBron and Kyrie's not playing at all. That would be a trade. It
would actually be a really, except that Kevin Durant's not going to play with Russell Westbrook again. He knows what that's like. It's a misery.
It's the Thunder again. It would be awesome. Get Serge Ibaka.
It would be the Thunder again. And, hey, remind me how much they won, those guys all together.
It's fair.
Nothing. Not a thing. All right. They would probably still win the East, though, but they just tell Westbrook to sit on the bench. Addition by subtraction. All right. Kyle, you got more?
Yeah.
I'm finding that my list is like 12 things long now. So
I have 2 more. The next one is my NFL pick, which again was a bit of a downer. In fact, it was an absolutely
it's Kevin Dyson
night of Kevin Dyson being 2.5 yards short. But the Titans losing to the Rams in the 99-2000 Super Bowl. Again, my first real memory of being a Titans fan, and ended in disaster, but it was a heck of a run. That's probably McNair,
it's a super likable team.
All-time favorite guys. So
yeah. I love that Titans team, actually. That was a fun team. Even though they ran Eddie George 33 times a game. It was a fun team. So, all right, Dad, what's your next one?
All right, well, my next couple are baseball. The 2004 Red Sox coming back from 3-1 down to the Yankees. And
3-0.
He's just what?
It was 3-0.
It was 3-0?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was 3-1. Okay, but anyway.
I mean, it was eventually after it was 3-0.
Well, I didn't realize. I thought it was 3-1. Anyway, doesn't matter. They were down, and then coming back and beating the Yankees, and then winning their first World Series in forever. That healed a lot of deep wounds for me, 75, 76, and then 86.
And 2003.
Yeah, yep. So yeah, I mean, there were just so many devastating moments as a Red Sox fan, and I don't even know why I'm a Red Sox fan, but yeah, for them to finally break through and then to win a couple more too was pretty sweet. But anytime they beat the Yankees, it was awesome.
Hard to argue with that.
Yeah.
So mine, go ahead.
Can I give you one more baseball one? And this is a really odd moment, but it was Randy Johnson hitting a dove with a warm-up pitch. That was one of the most awesome. The poor dove. I feel bad for the dove,
Sure you do.
for his family, but it was a pretty incredible moment in sports history to see feathers just fly everywhere.
No, we're not going to get PETA as a sponsor for this podcast, but okay. We've been doing Great Crow Facts for years now, trying to get some sponsorships. The birds thought they were safe on this podcast, but not anymore. All right, well, I'll do a baseball one too. It does end in heartbreak, as you both know, but the Rajai Davis home run off Aroldis Chapman in the World Series was the loudest, quietest scream I've ever had in my life. Micah was sleeping very close to where we were watching the game, but I jumped off the couch. I probably could have done a two-handed dunk at that moment. Hits the tying home run off Chapman. I really thought the Indians were going to win the World Series, and not to mention they had been up 3-1. And then that stupid rain delay botched it all up. So, yeah, that was incredible to witness that. And you had shirtless J.R. Smith up there in the box going crazy, and it's a pretty great moment until it wasn't. So, and I will add to that, there's not a ton of these that I remember exactly where I was, but the Pujols home run off Brad Lidge, I know exactly where I was when that happened. The idiots in our dorm in the lobby were watching something I didn't care about, and so I was by myself in my dorm room, and Pujols hit that ball over the railroad tracks, and I thought I'd never seen a ball hit that far in my life, and I maybe haven't. It was unbelievable. Till who hit one this year that was definitely further? Oh, Soler,
right?
Yeah, hit one to the moon, literally. So,
but know, and none of them compare to Reggie Jackson's, I think, in the 69 or 70 All-Star game, when he just about hit one out of, I think it was Tiger Stadium. He actually hit the light standard. I still remember I was watching that game. It was the most incredible thing I'd ever seen.
Well, and it should be mentioned, if you're a YouTube person, go watch the home run Bonds hits off Troy Percival in the World Series against the Angels. And the great thing is the camera picks up Tim Salmon saying to someone in the dugout, "That's the farthest ball I've ever seen." I mean, it is crushed beyond words. It's just unbelievable. So you should definitely watch that. Anyone who's listening to this podcast, listen, little illegal substance aided probably, but holy smokes. So, all right, Kyle, you have any more?
This is my last one, and not really teams that I care about, but this is the one from my list that I remember exactly where I was watching the 2005 National Championship, College Football National Championship, in Pat's basement, just pounding cheese and wings and food, and watching my man Vince Young run all over a USC team that I could not stand. And then Vince Young ends up as a Titan, and he was horrendous in the NFL, but
that's true.
That was an awesome game, 41-38, I believe. And
it is
young rushing touchdown.
It's an all-timer, an all-timer. And if you look at all the guys in that game, it's an incredible group of players. Earl Thomas is in that game, and
Clay Matthews and
Leinart and Reggie Bush and Lendell White and
Williams,
all those guys. Who?
One of the Williamses that was a wide receiver at USC.
Reggie?
Yeah, it'd be Reggie. But no, yeah, maybe, I don't know. But it was a great, it's
Mike
just an
Williams.
incredible game.
It was
It
Mike
was Mike
Williams.
Williams, right?
Yeah.
No, he's already gone by then. He got drafted in 04. But here's the deal: the Rose Bowl the year before, which was Michigan and Texas, was almost, it wasn't as important. It wasn't a national championship, but Vince Young was the same as good in that game too. It was something about end of the year games. People just had no chance against him. So, all right, Dad, do you have any more?
Yeah, I still so vividly remember Dick Weber winning the Pro Bowling Tour Championship. And no, I'm just kidding. I'm just
He
kidding.
does get excited.
But one of the more obscure things for me, not a sport that a lot of us or that we care so much about, but I remember when Phil Mickelson won his first Masters, and I was always a big Phil Mickelson fan, and still kind of am. But that was pretty memorable for me. That's something other than the baseball, basketball, and football area. So
there you go.
Golf analysis. It's lefty.
Yeah, old. Yeah.
So Mike, and since you talked about not getting to stay up, there was one sporting event when I was a kid that my dad actually let us all stay up and listen to on the radio. And it was the first Ali Frazier fight that ended in a I can't remember if it was a split decision or unanimous decision for Joe Frazier, and then Ali just pummeled him the next time they fought. So that dates me a little bit.
It does date you a little bit.
Your older listeners.
Yeah. On the radio, that's pretty much all you need.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. Do either of you have more? Because I have like 3 yet.
Go for it.
Okay. These are little ones, a couple of them, and then I'll finish with a big one. For whatever reason, the Bryce Drew shot in March Madness was a big one. I mean, it was Valparaiso, which is a school I eventually visited to potentially play baseball at, and it just was a big deal that it was a little Indiana school, and he ended up in the NBA, and now his brother is won a national championship last year coaching at Baylor, and Bryce Drew is also coaching, and so it's interesting. So that was a big one, and just any like buzzer beater. And I mean, the Chris Jenkins one from Villanova is an incredible shot. Stuff like that. I've mentioned on this podcast, I was at the game when Sammy Sosa hit 61 and 62, the year that him and McGuire were heading for Maris and passing Maris. That's definitely the best thing I've been live for, except, well, I have one other thing to mention later. And then the last one is another shot at the Michigan people. The Eli Manning 2007 beating the undefeated Patriots Super Bowl. I was at a Super Bowl party with probably 40 people, and everyone besides Emily and I were cheering for the Patriots because of Tom Brady, because it was all our college friends. And just the sadness and the quietness in the room on the Plaxico, Tyree then Plaxico plays, was just the most beautiful sound you can imagine. It wasn't all silent because I was yelling and hollering at people, but besides that, it was very quiet, and I enjoyed it a lot. So that's my list. Any other thoughts? Anything come to either of you while we were going through all of that?
The USC wide receiver we're trying to think of was Dwayne Jarrett. Was their guy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
10 catches in that game.
Yeah. They had a good tight end too, I don't remember who it was, but yeah, a lot of talent in that game. And it was really incredible. I mean, it was back and forth the whole day. You had the weird Reggie Bush play where he tried to lateral early on that cost USC. Anyhow. All right. Kyle, did you watch any NFL this week?
A very, very small amount. So I've got a pretty limited analysis pool to pull from here, but I'll do my best.
All right, Dad. Quiz time. Who's the number 1 seed in the AFC?
Give me a second here.
Okay.
I want to say either the Titans or the Ravens.
No and no. The The Ravens, I believe, are the 2 seed. Titans are the 3 or the Titans are the 2 seed. Ravens are the 3 seed. That's right, because the Titans beat the Ravens. Yes.
Yes.
This team has won 7 games in a row.
Oh, it's the Patriots.
It's the Patriots
On Monday night.
Yeah.
Patriots at 9-4.
And they ran the ball 3 times?
No, they threw the ball 3
Three.
times.
I mean, threw the ball 3 times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did you see that one of their defensive backs in his press conference said he just really wanted to say how well everybody played, except you, Mac Jones. You didn't do anything.
Did you see Belichick's answer to the question they asked him what he thinks they have up their sleeve that the next 2 opponents haven't prepared for? And he goes, our passing game, the whole passing game.
Yeah, the whole thing. Didn't show any of it. Yeah, that's pretty wild. Dad, what about the NFC? Who's the number 1 seed? Not an easier question, but
either the Packers or the
Close.
Good guess.
I missed this over under drastically.
I'm just trying to go through it in my head. It's not the Rams.
certainly not.
Rams are the 5 seed.
It's the Cardinals.
The Cardinals, of course. Yeah.
They got Kyler back and torched the Bears this week. The Cardinals are good. So anything, Kyle, you want to comment on this weekend besides the fact that once our fantasy team was completely eliminated from the playoffs, we've been crushing everybody?
It's been on fire lately.
Yeah.
It was a good week for the Titans. They had a bye, so that was nice.
They didn't lose.
Mm-hmm.
Colts won 31-0. Nice win. Or the Texans.
Told you to bet the Colts.
Who?
Points. I told you to bet the Colts points.
Yeah, well, we did give a winner on this podcast last week. I said bet the Chargers because nothing makes sense, and they pounded the Bengals. But did I actually put that bet in? No, instead I put a money line bet on the Iowa Hawkeyes just because I thought the day was weird on Saturday, and they only lost by 39, so that was good. But Kyle, if you had to pick a Super Bowl right now, what would be your pick?
I'm not picking the Pats. I can't do it. I think honestly the Chiefs are as hot as anyone in the AFC. I could go Chiefs, Cardinals.
Okay. I think that's a pretty good pick. I think I would pick a Rodgers Mahomes game. I do think it's the Chiefs right now, and I think it's Chiefs Packers for now. I will also say this. I have a hot take. Are you ready? I think I told you this on the phone the other day. I don't think Josh Allen is that good. I think, you know those years in the NBA where somebody shoots 8% higher than they normally do from 3, and it just becomes a career year, and you look back on it like,
this year?
Yeah, it's like that's an anomaly. Or like Cam Newton's MVP year, which doesn't look anything like any of the other years he's ever had in the NFL. I don't think Josh Allen is going to come close to his accuracy from last season in any season moving forward. And I think he's really good. He does some really interesting stuff. He also does dumb stuff all of the time, and he did in that Patriots game over and over again. I don't know. I think he's been put with the top tier of quarterbacks, and I don't think he belongs there. And that's my hot take for the week. And he hasn't played like he has most of the season. Even like there are games I've watched. I watched a lot of them against the Texans early in the season, and they scored 41 points, and it looks like everything's going great except Davis Mills or whatever his name is threw the ball right to the Bills over and over again, and he had short fields, and they kept kicking field goals against the Texans, who are no good because he wasn't hitting guys. And I don't know. I don't trust the Bills at all. And if you looked at our preview pod that we did, tons of people picked the Bills to make the Super Bowl, and I don't see it.
Yeah, they can't run the ball at all. So once it gets
not
cold, you're kind of hosed, especially playing in the cold weather. It's a weird combination.
Well, they don't have to worry about it. I don't think they're going to host any playoff games, so maybe they'll go to warm weather.
It's fair.
All right, my bet for the week. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. I haven't actually prepared this yet. I'm just going to throw one out there on this by the seat of my pants. All right, are you ready for this one? Cowboys are going to Washington, and Washington is banged up, and I think the Cinderella ride ends. Cowboys are favored by 4. I think they win by 17. Take the Cowboys. And I'd take the over in that game, which is 48, unless it snows or something weird. I think it's a shootout. Cowboys defense, people think is good, but it's not actually good. All right, what do you think about that one?
I like that one.
All right, we're going to actually bet it this week with my money that I have in there, which is
I'm going to need a reminder on that.
Yeah, well, whatever. All right, but maybe this podcast will move that line, so you better get it in fast. Pretty big podcast. All right, we're done with the NFL. I don't need to watch the Patriots keep winning. That's all I have to say about that. 7 in a row. Jeez Louise. But that game was wild. Did you see some of the balls just flying all over the place? There were a couple kickoffs that went like 10 seats deep into the stands because the wind was just blew it so far. Unbelievable. All right. This is a family fiasco segment, but we're going to do something a little different. Although Dad is welcome to tell as many embarrassing stories as he would like in his time, because we do our share of that. What we're going to talk about, this is all about memories this week. And so this is our personal favorite sports memories, things we've been involved in or whatever. So we'll let Kyle go first again. Beauty before age today. Kyle, what do you got? Give us one.
So I've got a high and a low, and I also have a request. Remind me next podcast to tell you the story of the house fire this week.
In your house?
Yeah. It's not major.
Gosh.
We're all fine. I don't get to touch on insurance, but it's non-sports related. My positive, and this was the peak of my athletic career. It's kind of all been downhill since then, but we won the state championship when we were 10 years old. I still have the bag of dirt and grass that you collected. That's my best. I found it in storage the other week. So
that's awesome.
That was definitely the peak. And we played a guy that threw about 1,000,000 miles an hour as a 10-year-old. He actually ended up being a running back for Boston College a couple of years ago. He hit me right in the mouth with a pitch.
Yeah, he did.
Which Dad showed at a sermon right after we won. Everyone thought it was going to be like a home run or something, and then bam, it's like I died.
It really did.
Yeah. I thought you did, actually.
Yeah. But yeah, that was definitely the peak. That was awesome. The most memorable sporting memory that I have is actually a culmination of 3 different high school games. My sophomore year, this was like my first couple games on varsity. I started this by playing catch with a kid named Mason Edlund. I'm never going to forgive him for it. He short hopped everything, and we were playing at Warsaw, and he short hopped a ball that hit me right in the mouth, and I'm spitting out blood the entire warm-ups. I've got cotton balls in my mouth. And actually hit my first varsity home run that first pitch, which was awesome. But then that resulted in the rest of that week, I got hit in the mouth every single game. So by the end of that week, the second one, I was stealing third, I think.
Yep.
And I got stepped on. No, the second one was I was stealing second, and the kid stepped on me right in the mouth, right on the sore teeth. And the third one, I was stealing third. I turned my head the wrong way, and the ball never hit the kid's glove and hit me right in the mouth. And I had to go in for emergency dental work for, thank you, Dr. Keller.
Dr. Keller.
My braces literally saved my teeth. They were just hanging from the braces.
It's unbelievable.
And that was the same week that you took the ground ball off the bag
in the nose
and broke your nose. And it was the same week that I got in a batting cage, took a bounce off a post right here, and had to have 13 stitches in my mouth.
It was quite a week for the Bachman boys.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tie in a bunch of those. So I'll let you go last on this. One of mine on my list was Kyle's team winning the state championship. It's one of the rare times where he was playing and I wasn't playing. And so I got to be there and make signs, and we were hooting and hollering and having a blast in the stands. I don't think any team had more fun than ours did in the stands. And there were a lot of siblings there, and it was fun to be there with Austin. And it was just a good time. And just to watch our little brothers do really well was an absolute blast. So that's on my list. I do have the getting hit in the face game on my list too, because our right fielder, Matt Coulter, ran in and said, "Hi, I'm Matt Coulter. I need CPR. Would you like me to perform CPR?" Because I was laying in a heap with blood streaming down my arm. And I told him to shut up and go away. And then Emily told me I looked like Spider-Man walking in because I just had blood running all kinds of different ways down my arm. So that was memorable. Put a nose tampon in and got to play the second game of the doubleheader. So that was nice.
And it had 4 hits.
Yeah, had a walk-off hit in that one, although it was to win by the 10-run rule because it was Grace because they're no good. So anyhow, those all kind of tie together because it's injury. Somewhere in my body is a floating piece of my hip bone from taking a line drive as pitching. And Kyle and I both had the same shoulder surgery in the same summer one year. So fun times for the Bachmans. All right, Kyle, you got more?
Those were the only 2 that I wrote down. So we're gonna
All right.
go with that. And if I think of anything else where you guys are going,
Cool.
throw that in there.
All right, Dad, you're up. We haven't let you go yet, really.
Okay, so a couple. The first one would be, I'm going to tell one about each of you, so, and me. So the first one is Kyle was playing in a men's baseball league 5 years ago, and I had been coaching baseball, and they didn't have enough players, so they asked if I would play, and I said yes, and then they asked me if I would pitch, and so Kyle and I actually combined to pitch the game that we won. I can't remember what the score was.
14-1.
But I remember, I think I threw 6 1/3 innings, and the last pitch I threw, it felt like my arm landed about 2/3 of the way to home plate, and I just said, I'm done. I can't throw another pitch. But that was pretty awesome.
And that was on Father's Day. Actually.
Yeah, that's right. That
and
was
Dad
on Father's
just
Day.
Mowing people down, and then I come in and get shelled and walk like half the time.
Oh, you did not. You only gave up 3 runs.
Yeah.
But still.
Still.
So the one that for you, Jesse, is your sophomore year playing in the finals of the NAIA World Series, and of course you got beat pretty soundly, but I was doing a card show not long after that in Chicago, and it was the day of the Major League Draft, and there was a TV on over where the trash containers were. So I went over to take trash over, and ESPN on. It was the baseball draft, and a guy named Bo Mills, who you played against in that game, had just been drafted with the 13th pick. And so I thought, well, I'm going to stand here. I just want to see if he's interviewed or anything. So I'm standing there by myself, nobody within 50 yards of me. And all of a sudden, they show the home run he hit, not off of you, in the first inning. And you were playing second base, and you went running across the TV screen on ESPN. And I'm like, I'm freaking out, like, my son's on ESPN, there's nobody else around to tell, or nobody else saw it. But anyway, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, we were in the basement. We were playing in Kansas City that summer, Andy and Brad and I, and we saw the same thing. And I said, look at me going out to cut off a ball that's going 80 feet over the fence.
Yeah. But anyway, for me personally, just a sports memory. My senior year in college, we were playing a conference game, and our conference actually was the first conference to experiment with a 3-point line, and it was at like 23 feet, so it was really a deep 3-ball. But anyway, we're in the 3rd overtime, and we're down 2. With just seconds left, and I took the inbounds pass and pulled up just across half court and actually shot a jump shot and hit it to send it into the 4th overtime. And we ended up playing 5 overtimes that night. We won. Game ended at like 1 o'clock in the morning. It just went on and on and on. But yeah, that was a pretty thrilling moment for me.
All right, I'm going to give a different one, one that's off the beaten path, that ties in with playing baseball. But my unifying theme in my last memories are the people, not so much the sports. So my junior year of college, Emily and I had just started dating, and the Sweet 16 and Elite 8 was in Detroit, which was pretty close to Spring Arbor. So I bought us tickets because Emily's a big sports fan, and obviously we have this podcast. You don't need more than that. And so it was perfect. We had a doubleheader scheduled Thursday and Saturday. The games were Friday and Sunday. Weren't going to have any trouble getting up there to watch both sets of games. Well, as luck would have it, Thursday it rained. So I unfortunately did not get to go on Friday because our games were rescheduled for Friday in Indiana Wesleyan and Marion. And so as we're getting off the bus, Joe Meyer says to me, well, Bach, this is the most expensive pitching start you'll ever make in your life. He was right. Those tickets were not cheap, and I did not have a lot of money. I did throw a shutout, but it was freezing cold, and it was awful. And meanwhile, Steph Curry lit Georgetown up. I mean, he had like 38 against Georgetown, and I missed it to be freezing my butt off in Marion, Indiana. I did get to go Sunday, and he nearly beat Kansas by himself, and it was incredible. But I got to do that with Emily, and that was cool. And also the baseball was woven into that. So that was maybe the coolest sporting event I've been to, just to see a little guy, same size as me, basically, weaving in and out of NBA guys, drilling threes and stuff with literally no help. With another white guy about my size trying to help him as the point guard, the coach's son. So that was really cool.
Can I add something to that one? Because I was sitting on the ramp going up to the show in Chicago that day, and you called me, and I just remember you saying, Indiana Wesleyan's going to be facing one ticked off pitcher today.
I was not happy. It was this tough one. It was still cold. It was awful. I hated pitching in the cold. So anyhow, all right. The next one is actually my number one, but this is the truth. The people that listen to this podcast that I know are mostly people I've played sports with, honestly, or know because of the sports I was playing and got to know them because of that. And then we became really close friends. And so my number one memory of Spring Arbor baseball is coming back against Union in the World Series. We were down big going into the ninth inning. I made a nice play to keep the game close in the eighth inning, and then hit the piddliest single you've ever seen in your life, 2 RBI single to bring us close, and then got to score the winning run in the game and throw my helmet and miss the pile when I tried to jump into it, and the whole thing. It's all on video. I have it still. But just being with the people that I loved, including mom and dad being there and being a part of that was about as good as it gets. And then this is a dumb one, but it makes me think of Ken Grover, who's one of my dear friends. Late in my senior year in high school, we went to Bethany to play. And I happened to be dating a girl from Bethany at the time. And so I wanted to show off a little bit, of course. And this is the greatest statistical game offensively I've ever had in my life, by far. And the point of this is that I'm battling Kenny back and forth to win the RBI title for our team that year. And that was really the only statistical category I needed to get to pretty much lead our team in everything. And so we're going into the game, and it's basically, it's the fifth inning. We're killing Bethany at this point. And I'm 3 for 3 with a home run and like 3 RBIs and 4 stolen bases at this point. And so there's no reason for me to get up again. There's like 2 outs and nobody on, and our subs are hitting, because I always hit leadoff, and they all get on base. No reason. Like these guys, and Kenny's just over there like beside himself, because he knows like I can't get another RBI opportunity in this game, or else it's going to sink him. And so I got up there. Our friend Nolan Miller is pitching, and first pitch, I hit another 3-run homer to right field, and Kenny is yelling no in the dugout, screaming as I'm running to first base, because he doesn't want the ball to go over the fence. And then it does. And so I finished the day with 6 RBIs and 4 stolen bases. It was a pretty good day, a couple homers. Greatly inflated my season totals on the year that I did not deserve, playing against really a JV team. But anyhow, it was a great day, and got to do our stupid thing that we did every time someone hit a home run. And Kenny was so mad. He was just like in the dugout being mad. And so it was great. It was a great memory. And that was a really fun year, because everything kind of came together that year, and playing with Alex and Joel and Austin and Kenny and all those guys doesn't get a lot better than that. So, and Sean, if I don't mention Sean, that's an outrage. Those are like 5 of my very best friends in the world. So, anyhow, any other thoughts? Nothing.
About anything?
Sure.
So I didn't know if you meant about that particular game.
No, you don't need to talk more about what I said.
So I played in a basketball tournament my junior year in college. It was just like a city basketball tournament, and we played against a team that had 2 guys that played major college basketball. They were playing at James Madison University, and one of them was a guy named Linton Towns, and they just about beat Carolina that year, the year that Jordan hit the shot to win it. And Towns ended up getting drafted by the Portland Trail Blazers and was a pretty good NBA player for a while. But my memory is he was 6'7", and I remember getting a rebound and throwing what I thought was a pretty good outlet pass. And Linton Towns jumped up into the rafters. At least I remember it. That's how I remember it. He snatches the ball out of the air, and he starts dribbling towards the basket, under which I am standing. And I think, okay, I'm going to draw a charge. He's coming right at me.
Sure.
And he takes off. His legs are spread, and he's like in a tomahawk jam position. And I just bailed out. And he just throws down this thunderous jam. It was the most awesome thing I've ever experienced in my life. But I look back at that, and I thought I was going to be real brave, and I thought
that go?
Wiser.
Well,
we actually did. I did actually score 35 on him. He was guarding me, which is probably the best game I've ever played in my life. And we did win, but that dunk was just, I've never been that close to anything like that before in my life. It was awesome.
So speaking of the rafters, I have to tell one more story, because there's a couple people listening to this podcast that are going to die because they're going to remember this. So our freshman year of basketball, we played for Coach Swartout, who was intimately involved with Concord athletics for the most part, but he had gotten invited over to coach our freshman team. So we really wanted to beat Concord. And let me tell you, we really did not beat Concord. We got absolutely killed at home freshman basketball. I mean, just Brandon Tepe just ate our lunch, and amongst others. So what happened was that when freshman basketball, you would play a 5th quarter to let the subs who didn't play a lot play. So often because I was kind of the 6th man, I would play in those quarters with Sean and some others. And so we won the 5th quarter, but it got tight at the end, and coach really wanted to win to salvage the day. And so there's like 0.8 left in the quarter. We have the ball. We got to go the whole length of the court. Really, we just need to get the ball in bounds. It's over. We're up by 1. There's 0.8 left. And Sean takes the ball out, and Coach Swartout says, just throw it down the court. Someone will touch it. And Sean rears way back. And he throws the ball, and he throws it this is not like a little podunk gym. This is the main gymnasium. He throws the ball into the rafters. It hits the rafters of the gym. And because it hits the rafters, the ball goes to Concord back under their own basket. I think we're actually up 2, and they inbound, and a guy's 3 just rims out. And we almost lost the 5th quarter too, because Sean threw the ball up into the net. So, yes. Sean, sorry for that story, but I will never forget that one either, because like our friends Alex and Joel and probably Austin, who all were starters, are just over on the bench, falling off the bench laughing. Meanwhile, Coach Swartout was not falling off the bench laughing. So he was a pretty intense guy, but we loved him. So, all right. That's about it. We wrap that segment up. All right. Does anybody have a thing they hate this week? besides that turkey is the main dish at Thanksgiving when there are so many better meats?
My only thing, and this is a repeat of the thing that I hated the last podcast, is I still have a cough 3 months later. So apologize to you. You're going to have to do some editing skills here, but I'm over
That's
it.
not going to happen.
Over it.
All right. Steve?
I hate being 60 years old and have to watch what I eat this time of year.
Fair.
Done a great job.
So I don't balloon up to about 350 pounds.
Yeah. Go the Oliver Miller route. Eat your way out of the league. All right. This is a little thing, but it annoys me to death. I can't stand people who can't park or choose to not fix a parking fiasco. Like, get it in the lines or back out and get it in the lines the second time. Especially when it's crowded and people are ended up taking up 2 spots because you can't get into the spot next to them. Those people deserve to have their cars keyed. That's all. It's ridiculous. I'm not actually advocating for criminal activity, to be clear, but come on. It's such an easy thing to do. That's all. That's the thing I hate. I saw it this week. It made me crazy. Thoughts? None? Okay.
Well, since we're talking about driving, I can't stand it when people don't use their turning signal. And like this week, I was sitting at the post office, angle parked, waiting to back out because a car is coming. And then they turn in and park right beside me. Not a turning signal, nothing.
That's
pretty
the best
bad.
way to get a good Christian thumbs down for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I won't tell it today, but one of the craziest things I ever seen happened in the post office parking lot several years ago here in Oviedo. Just the worst driving I've ever seen in my life. Anyhow, all right, we'll move on.
Oh.
Dad, this can be anything from anything. We do, as you know, we do recommendations for things people should watch. Please don't say Little House on the Prairie, but otherwise, what do you got for us?
You know, we recently watched a movie again that we've seen many times, and it is just one of my favorites, The Count of Monte Cristo.
So
with Jim
good.
Caviezel. I would recommend that to anybody. Just a great movie, and it's just, you know, not that it's just an entertaining movie, but just the just the principles that it teaches, and yeah, it's just a great movie overall. And I mean, there's a little violence in it, so obviously, you know, not good for kids, but the message is really good, really clear, and kind of funny at times, but yeah, just a great flick.
All right.
Little
Kyle, you got
House on the
anything?
Prairie, are you serious?
Well, you know, I mean, I know you love your old-timey shows. Andy Griffith, Little House on the Prairie, Anne of Green Gables. I know you love Sleepless in Seattle. Yeah, Sleepless in Seattle is good. I'd give you that one.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. All right, Kyle, you got anything to recommend this week?
Yeah, we watched 2 this week. The first, it was a Netflix movie, and it wasn't like blow your face off good, but Red Notice with The Rock and
Seen it.
His name.
Not great, but fine.
I thought it was fun. Anyways, it was a good non-thinking action movie.
Yes. If you need to turn your brain off, I'd say that's a good one.
The second one, which I thought was great, was Collateral with Tom Cruise.
Haven't seen it.
He is an assassin and gets in a cab with Jamie Foxx, I think it is,
Mm-hmm.
and rents out the cab for the day with Jamie Foxx not knowing he's an assassin. So it gets pretty interesting.
I have heard good things about that. All right, I got 2 things. I blame, I don't know, someone for not telling me how great Seinfeld is. We have started watching Seinfeld. It's hysterical. Even though it's
So about nothing.
it's clear. Well, yeah, we just actually got past their pitch to NBC, show about nothing. But listen, it's just got great characters, and I mean Kramer. I could just watch Kramer do stuff for like days, and I would be fine probably. So anyhow, I think it's hilarious.
So Jess,
Mhm.
if you like Seinfeld, let me suggest an even older show with a similar character. It's called Taxi.
Okay.
I would suggest you watch a few episodes of Taxi.
All right, I can give that a look. We got time. The other thing is a ridiculous one. Kyle knows about this one. This is not a TV show. This is a YouTube thing. But I was listening to Foo Fighters the other day, and I thought of this again. There is a mashup where Dave Grohl ran into Rick Astley backstage at a concert, and the Foo Fighters had been learning, like, basically the Never Gonna Give You Up, but as Smells Like Teen Spirit. Yeah, this might be going right over your head, but they basically play Never Gonna Give You Up as Smells Like Teen Spirit while Rick Astley is singing Never Gonna Give You Up, and it is a jam. It is awesome. There is some language at the beginning, so sorry about that, but it is hilarious and worth a watch. Anyhow, Kyle agrees. I know he does.
Yep, it's awesome.
Yep.
So this is kind of a side note, but have you and Emily, do you ever watch The Voice, or does Emily ever watch The Voice?
Oh boy, does Emily watch The Voice. Yes.
Okay. So A Girl Named Tom, are you familiar with them?
I went to Goshen College.
Do you know who that is?
I don't even know many men named Tom.
Okay, so there's a group called A Girl Named Tom, and it's a sister and two brothers, and their parents are Kevin and Pat's, or Kevin's first cousins.
Interesting.
So it might be a reason for you to actually, watch at least them. It's kind of cool.
Okay.
So
there you go. Girl named Tom. All right. Well,
they're really good. They actually should win this season.
Yeah, they are.
Emily, do you think A Girl Named Tom should win The Voice? She says they're fine. They're good, obviously, is she's amending. All right. Dynamic reporting from the Bachman household. Emily's sick. We got to give her a break. All right. Well, Dad, pleasure having you on.
Always a pleasure.
Kyle, still coughing, I see.
I'm about to die.
Yeah, well, don't die on us. And I'm going to go watch some more Seinfeld, I think. So I'll try to get this up by, I don't know, Christmas, so we can watch it. To all of you that listen, I can't believe how many people still watch this ridiculous podcast. Thanks. We love you. Merry Christmas. We're trying to get back to once a week. We're doing okay at it. So I have time over the holidays, but I don't know. I think Kyle may end up down here for one at some point. So we hope so. All right. Bye, you guys.
See ya.
See you.